Well, hey guys, what's up? It's your boy, one and only AR Anime, and yeah, guys, today I am back on my channel AR Anime, and today I'm going to do what if Naruto was neglected by his family and a shinigami sealed inside of him. So yeah, guys, I hope that you guys watched the first part of this video, and I hope that you guys really enjoyed it. So yeah, guys, today I'm going to make the next part of it, and hopefully you guys will really enjoy it as well. But before starting this video, I would like to make a request to all of you guys who are watching this video to come on guys, if you guys are new to this channel or if you guys have not subscribed yet, please guys do so. It will really help me a lot, as I want to reach, you can say, at least 1k before anything. So yeah guys, I'm going to make this video for you guys and hopefully you guys will enjoy it. For the next part, the like goal is going to be, let's see, 120 likes and 60 comments. Do that and I shall upload the next part as quick as possible, and who knows, I might upload it today. So it is really up to you guys. So yeah guys, without any further ado, let us start the video. Last time we left off as we saw that how Naruto, you can say, in the demon world as Shin, by the name of a demon Shin, has killed off so many demons and known as one of the strongest demons, as he's, you can say, put on a name for himself known as the Shinigami, self-proclaimed Shinigami of the demon world, as he wanted to spread his name into the human realm as well. That was the main reason he made the contract, but he was pretty bored. After all, the Uzumakis were the one who discovered the contract of the Shinigami, and there were so less of a people who ever, you can say, summoned him into the human world, so his name was not that feared. So he finally decided to come up with a new idea that he wanted to seal himself into a human child and then spread his name across the human world as the one of the strongest being there was, as known as the Shinigami, or the demon known by the name of Shin. So he sealed himself into Naruto, as after that, you can say, Naruto was finally started to get neglected by his family, as Naruto was considered to be dead, but they thought that his soul was somehow sealed inside of his body, though they simply started to, you can say, simply avoid him and then started to hate him, because whenever they looked towards him, they could see a child who was by all means dead because he had no pulse or any heartbeat whatsoever. But to them, it was a mocking thing, as they started to hate him as well, and things started to change. And finally, Naruto came back to, you can say, life when he finally made contact with Shin and merged himself with him, gaining a lot of powers as well as retaining his human form once again. So yeah guys, that was the last part of it, as Naruto became pretty powerful. And if you guys have not seen the last part of it, please check it out. You guys will definitely like it. So yeah guys, without any further ado, let us start the video. The graduation exam has just come to an end, in which Minato wanted to make Menma and Ruko to be the rookie and the Kunoichi of the year, but in the end of the day, as he summoned all of the council members, wanted to make it a tournament type so that the kids could know what the Chunin exams are like. Though he did not expect Naruto to win as well as Hinata to get so many marks, as well as, you can say, impressing so many council members. So Menma as well as both Naruto simply fall in the hands of Naruto pretty easily, even when Minato tried to put a seal on Naruto so that he can absorb his chakra and make him lose the battle. Though it did not matter, as Naruto simply defeated both Menma and Naruto. And yeah guys, that was the last part where we left off, as both Shikamaru, Choji, as well as Naruto finally arrived to the room of Hinata, in which she was, you can say, taking rest, as she was in the hospital. As Shikamaru speak up, troublesome, Hinata, are you alright? As Hinata simply looked towards all of them, as she had burned marks over her body thanks to the corrosive chakra of the Nine Tails. As Naruto simply looked towards Hinata, as in the all of this time, as he could see that Hinata had a small, you can say, crush on him. Though to be honest, he do not know how to respond to all that. Though in the end of the day, both of them became good friends on that. As Naruto gave a smile to Hinata, as she nodded back and smiled, as they started to talk about different things and all. As after some time, Shikamaru and Choji simply went off, as Naruto simply looked towards Hinata as he said, "So Hinata, did your father came?" As Hinata sighed, as she said, "Well, Naruto-kun, my father is not that bad of a guy. I could see that he was a bit worried, but it seemed that clan elders must have put him away and giving some excuse so he cannot visit me and all that." As Naruto simply nodded at that. To be honest, he always thought that Hiyashi was quite a fool and quite, you can say, arrogant person, but he saw that how he was a bit worried about Hinata when, you can say, Naruko started to use Ninetales chakra. As he sighed, as he said, "Well, Hinata, may you get well soon." as Naruto stood up, but before going so, as he simply put a hand to the head of Hinata, as Shin eyes widened in his, you can say, chamber, as I started to chuckle, as I said, so finally decided to use my powers, huh? Well, go on. As Naruto, you can say, hand started to glow with silver chakra, as Hinata could, you can say, already feel a bit dizzy, as she finally got knocked out, and all of her wounds started to heal at massive rate as Naruto let out a small smile came to his face as he vanished from the area. And now let us go to Minato's office as Minato has the list of the graduates in front of him as he was gritting his teeth with pure anger. In the first place was, according to the you can say council members and all of that, as Naruto became the rookie of the year even though Naruto won against Hyuga Hinata, but Hinata had so many marks as she became the Konoichi of the year, and in the third place was Menma and then Naruto as he slammed his face into the table as he gritted his teeth even further. He does not even know, but he always from you can say whenever he looked towards Naruto, he started to hate him. He does not know when he started to hate his own son, but only thing he knows that he hates him with all of his gut, and there is nothing, no explanation, just pure utter hate in his heart, nothing more than that. For his, you can say, firstborn, as he simply scoffed at that as he said, well, it does not matter. It seems that I have to do something about him. He's getting too strong. As his then a smirk came to his face. Well, this should be perfect. As he simply, you can say, called a meeting for the Jonin sensei and all that. As after some time, all the Jonin sensei finally arrived to the you can say Hokage office as Kakashi along with Kushina and Asuma, Kuronai and all other teams as Minato speaker. Well, it seems that the graduation has finally come to an end and here I have the results approved by the council itself as they simply nodded at that as then Kushina speak up. So, it is about time for the teams, right, Minato-kun? As Minato simply nodded at that as he said, well, Team 1 is going to be, as he started to explain all the teams, as all the teams are going to be the same, as he said, now it's about Team 7. Well, today, or rather this year, I have come up with a new idea since we did a new graduation exam, so I'm going to make a heavy assault team. As many of the Jonin sensei raised an eyebrow at that, wondering what the Hokage is talking about. As I said, alright, the team 7 is going to be Naruto, Namikaze, Uzumaki, as he gritted his teeth on that. But no, not many people notice it, of course, but Kakashi as well as Kushina. As Kakashi, you can say, narrowed his eyes at that, he also put a glance towards Kushina, whose eyes also narrowed as if she was pretty much angry at the name of, you can say, calling the name of their first son. As Kakashi did not pay it much mind, even though he put it at the back of his head. And then the next member is going to be Naruto, Uzumaki, Namikaze, Menma, Uzumaki, Namikaze, as well as Hinata and Sasuke Uchiha, as there were several murmurs going on into the room, but they simply nodded at that. And since it is a heavy assault team, I'm going to appoint 2 Jonins in this team, which is going to be Kushina, Uzumaki, Namikaze, as well as Kakashi Hatake, as they simply looked towards each other and nodded at that, though many of the Jonin sensei eyes narrowed as Asuma speak up, as well, Hokage-sama, it is a great team, but don't you think that it's a bit overpowered and it does not, you can say, simply, it's not fair with the other teams? As Minato narrowed his eyes as he said, but before he could say anything, as Kuronai speak out, well, Lord Third put the teams in a manner so that all the teams could be balanced. Rookie of the year, Konoichi of the year, and the dead last of the team, and so other the teams. I think that this team is way too much imbalanced, Lord Hokage, as Minato simply looked towards both of them with a blank expression. Well, too bad, I'm Hokage, and whatever I say goes. And after saying that, he started to announce the Team 8 and the other teams as all the Jonins. You can say most of the Jonins narrowed their eyes at that, but Minato was right as well. He was the Hokage. Whatever he says goes. But most of the people at this point, you can say especially Asuma and Kuronai, noticed that Minato is showing favoritism to Menma and Naruto. As for Naruto being in this team, or many of the people at this point knows that Hokage does not like his firstborn, because the day Minato announces both Menma and Naruto to be the heir of the both Uzumaki and Namikaze clan, as there were several people discussing about that how Hokage does not like his firstborn and he has all but you can say forsaken the kid. Though not many people cared about it, after all, both Menma and Naruto and the hero's child, so all that. So yeah, as Kakashi simply nodded at that. To be honest, he never hated Naruto whatsoever, though he was a bit interested in training the Uchiha, while on the other hand he had trained Menma and Naruto time to time. To be honest, both of them did not needed it. Though he still helped with the Rasengan and they have still not mastered it at this point, but he simply shook his head at that. Well, it would be a great opportunity to meet with the firstborn of his sensei. To be honest, he does not know why. Always his sensei, whenever he liked to ask him about Naruto, simply changed the topic and did not want to talk about him. And it is pretty clear that for some reason his sensei hated Naruto with all of his heart, with passion. But he simply shook his head. Well, it would be truly be a great team. Only the time will tell, as after some time they simply you can say dismiss the teams. And now let us get back to you can say a small timescape as after some time they were finally in the you can say class as in which all the you can say academic graduates were present and they were simply discussing things at that as after some time Hinata arrived as Naruto narrowed her eyes as well as Menma because when Naruto used the ninth as chakra she was more than sure that it would leave several burns on her body though it seemed that she does not have even a small burn on her body. As at this, when Naruto gritted her teeth at that, Hinata was always a competition for her, even though she was considered as a hero. But still, Hinata was considered a princess of Hyuga, so she was a competition to her, and she never liked her whatsoever. And you can say another reason she was friends with that loser of a brother of her, so she hated her just like she hated that damn loser whatsoever as she simply scoffed and went you can say back to you can say discussing things with both Ino as well as Sakura and well you can say not discussing or rather screeching. So yeah, as Hinata finally took a seat beside Naruto as well as Shikamaru was also there as she simply gave a smile to her friend group as she said, "Hello, Naruto-kun, Shikamaru-kun, and Joji," as they simply nodded back at that as Shikamaru said troublesome. "So, what do you think is going to be teams, huh, Naruto?" As Naruto simply raised an eyebrow. "Well, to be honest, I do not know. It's a bit odd number team. So, I do not know how they are going to put the teams and all that." As Shikamaru simply nodded at that as he said, "To be honest, it's too much of a troublesome, but I think that it's going to be Inoshikacho once again." As Naruto simply smiled at that, "Well, don't worry, Ino is not that bad." And then you can say a screech of Ino came. Sasuke-kun and Sakura also started to scream about you can say something about Sasuke and they simply started to beat each other around. As all of them simply looked towards you can say Shikamaru said troublesome. As Naruto started to chuckle at that. As Choji also started to you can say eat even faster. Well, at least one good thing will come that he will be friends or a teammate with Shikamaru. So he was pretty happy at that. As Naruto also started to wonder how they're going to put the team. He was more than sure that he was the rookie of the year. And then you can say Hinata is also going to be with him. After all, she was the Konoichi of the year. Even though Naruto was able to beat her, but still, there are good chances that Hinata will be the rookie of the year. Though, wondering how his father will put him in the team because he was more than sure that Minato will try to do something to sabotage his growth or something like it. So yeah, because not already knew that all of that tournament and all that, it was Minato's plan to make a point to all of the council members. He wanted to make a point that how he did not you can say took away the birthright of Naruto. As a matter of fact, he was undeserving of such a title of you can say the whole heir of the both Namikaze and Uzumaki clan. That was the main reason he put out all that tournament even though he could have waited for the Chunin exam, but still he wanted to prove it even further that how he was right and Naruto was not worth anything and definitely not the heir, not the title of the heir of the you can say whole the clans Uzumaki and Namikaze. Naruto let a small smirk came to his face. Well, at least he proved a point at that, and he was more than sure that Minato would be fuming at that how he got humiliated in front of all the council members as well as the clan heads as well as some of the civilian council members that were there as well. Well, good thing for Naruto that he was not that much hated even though his family hated his guards. At least the village you can say not try to gut him or anything like it. So that was a good point in Naruto's book at least, though several people still laugh and murmur several things at his back saying that how he was unworthy of the whole you can say of being born in the whole Uzumaki and the Makase clan, and how both Menma and Naruto are so much better than him. But Naruto simply shook that thought out of his mind. Those were, you can say, simple-minded civilians. They know no better, and they are literally fools. So he doesn't care about it. As after some time, finally Iruka came. As he started to speak, well class, first of all, I would like to tell you guys that I am so much proud of all of you. Today, you have become true shinobis of Konohagakure, the Ganins, but still true shinobi nonetheless. And I'm pretty sure that in the future, you guys will progress and become Chunins and then Jonins, and who knows, one of you might even become Hokage in the future. At this, Menma and Naruto let out a smirk came to his face, as if they were more than sure that one of them is going to be the Hokage no matter what. As they simply nodded at that. Said, as Ruka said, alright, it's about time that I announce your teams. As I started to speak up the teams, as I said, alright, Team 7 is going to be a special case. So, here are going to be the team, which is going to be Uzumaki, Naruto, Namakaze, Menma, and Naruto, Uzumaki, Namakaze, and then as there were several murmurs going on as if all the triplets were in the team, as Naruto narrowed his eyes at that, he is a feeling that something new is going to come at this. Well, the team is not over yet, which is going to be Sasuke Uchiha as well as Hinata Hyuga, and for the last member of the team is going to be. As he started to explain the team, as he said, alright, as after explaining all the teams, as one of the members stood up, but Ruka Sensei, why my name was not announced? I graduated, as it was none other than Sakura. As Ruka simply looked towards her. To be honest, he did not know why Hokage did not, you can say, put her into a team, but he simply nodded at that. Well, Sakura, your marks actually in the, you can say, whole book smart was actually good, but your physical as well as all the in the competition, you were disqualified in the very first match, and all that, it seemed that the council has decided that to put you and reserves. At this, several people started to, you can say, giggle at that, as Sakura was beyond angry. She, you can say, studied at least 10 hours in a single day so that she could get the Konoichi of the year title. She was more than happy that at least 60% or 50% was simply given from the whole, you can say, book smart, so it was pretty easy for her to get the title. But when Hokage said about whole tournament thing, she was simply, you can say, defeated in the very first match when she was against Choji. Choji simply, you can say, eliminated her with little to no trouble whatsoever, and she got humiliated in front of so many people. It seemed that the council has decided to put her at reserves as she gritted her teeth. All of her dreams of being with the team of her Sasuke-kun has been, you can say, crushed with little to no trouble whatsoever. She shot a glare towards Hinata that she has taken away the title of the Rookie of the Year and got with the team of her Sasuke-kun, as she was pretty angry at that. Hell, she started to protest and all that, saying that how her mother is in the council and she will demand that how she will be put into the team of the her Sasuke-kun and all that. But Ruka simply, you can say, ignored her and started to announce all other teams and all that. And finally, the teams finally ended, as Naruto was a bit surprised that his so-called mother is going to be his Jonin sensei. Well, at least one good thing will come, that Kakashi Hatake will also is going to be in that team. Though, to be honest, he doesn't know about the guy and all that, but still, at least he will not be that much biased. Well, he has little, you can say, hope. After all, he is the student of his so-called father, which is the biggest hypocrite of the world. So yeah, there is a good possibility that he will also hate him. But whatever, he already has so much power at his disposal, and at this point all he needs to do is to train with that power and all that. As after some time of waiting, finally the, you can say, Kakashi and Kushina finally arrived, as Kushina was dragging Kakashi, who was, you can say, trying to read his book, but a glare from Kushina finally, you can say, stopped him from him in his track. As finally she arrived, as she said, alright, Team 7, meet us at the rooftop. As she simply nodded at that and simply, you can say, teleported into the rooftop. As after some time, the whole team finally arrived to the rooftop, as Kakashi simply, you can say, looked towards all of them. As you could easily see, most of the people and their characters, Sasuke was brooding, as well as he had a, you can say, aura, as if something was telling him that he was some type of superior or anything like it. As Kakashi sighed, just what he needs. And Uchiha, to be honest, he was praying, no, he was hoping As a matter of fact, he was begging to himself that he will not get an elite, or rather known as a arrogant Uchiha. After all, he knows the Uchihas when they were, you can say, all that. To be honest, he was more than sure that Fugaku was already giving, you can say, private training to Sasuke and all that. And Sasuke had the same aura as Fugaku of arrogance as Kakashi Sai. To be honest, he doesn't know why this team was given to him. Yeah, he knows that he has the Sharingan and all that. But still, the Uchiha clan is not like massacred or anything like it. All the Uchiha clan is still there. So, he could train with some Uchiha and all that as he simply Sai at that. Well, a good thing will come that at least he will get to know the first bond of his Hokage. To be honest, he already know that about both Menma and Naruto, and sometimes he wonders if both of them are somehow related to Uchihas because both of them are arrogant as hell. But he simply shook his head, and now the third or fourth member, he looked towards Hinata, a princess of the Hyuga clan. From that small tournament which the sensei, you can say, introduced. Well, she was pretty strong and even was able to keep up with Naruto. To be honest, she was able to beat her if she did not use the Ninth chakra. I still do not know what the sensei was thinking to allow Naruto and Menma, both of them, to use the power of the Nine Tails in a simple match against the Genins. As he simply shook his head, and now the final member, as he simply looked towards Naruto, who was simply looking towards him with a cold and calculative look. As Kakashi looked into the eyes of Naruto, to be honest, for a moment he felt as a shiver go through his spine, as those were the cold eyes, and for some reason, his Yugasa Sensei's son had silver hair, and just like his own, though a bit you can say darker color, but he simply shook his head at that. Must be some genetic disorder. After all, he does know that when at the time Naruto was considered to be dead, and now somehow he's alive. But he simply shook his head. Well, he will get his answers later on. First, this team has to pass his special test. As he looked towards Kushina, as I said, alright, as you guys could already tell, both of us are your Jonin sensei. So, before starting anything, or any type of mission and all that, first of all, why don't you guys introduce yourself? As Naruto smirked, well, Kakashi Nisan, why don't you start? As Kakashi nodded at that, alright, Naruto, but from here on you will call me Kakashi Sensei, alright? As Naruto simply huffed at that, as Kakashi sighed, as he said, alright, my name is Kakashi, and my likes, well, I have a lot of those. As for my dislikes, I also have a lot of those. As for hobbies, I have a lot of them. And for, well, my dream, never thought about it. As there were several, you can say, sweat drops at that, as Kushina scoffed at that. Alright, allow me to tell you how it is done. My name is Kushina Uzumaki Namikaze. I'm the wife of the 4th Hokage, and for my likes, it's my family, as not to scoff at that, as if, you can say, she cared about her family or anything like it. As Kushina shot a glare towards Naruto, as I was saying, my dislikes are, as she started to go through about different things, and for my likes are, you can say, ramen and dream, well, already achieved, so things like it. And finally, as Naruto speak up, alright, I will start from here on. My name is Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. As for my dreams, I want to be the Hokage in the future, and I want to get rid of someone from my clan. As she looked towards Naruto with a glare. At this, Kakashi narrowed his eyes as Kushina had a frown on her face. As then, finally, Menma speak up. Well, my name is Menma Uzumaki Namikaze. As for my likes, well, that is training with my mom and dad and Edo Sennin and Bachan. And for my dreams is to become Hokage and get rid of you can say, a piece of trash from my clan. As she looked towards Naruto, who started to yawn at that, taking off both Menma and Naruto at that. As then, you can say all of them were Kushina was a bit surprised as she started to wonder if she has pushed things too hard and how. You can say both Menma and Naruto hated Naruto, and why is that? But she simply shook her head. Well, the only reason she hated, well, to be honest, she does not hate Naruto. But still, whenever she looked towards him, she could see that he was somehow back to life. But she can only think that if Menma and Naruto were to complete their destiny, that is the only reason for Naruto to truly come back to life. Otherwise, who knows that he might return back to the same thing. After all, she does not know when and how that happened to Naruto, that his soul was sealed away inside of his own body. So she thinks that it is only temporary. So for only, you can say, the only way for Naruto to truly come back to life, or whatever she considered life to be, is to, you can say, for Menma and Naruto to be stronger than him, as well as for both of them to complete their destiny to save the world by being the strongest there was and there is. As she simply shook her head, as she simply nodded at that, as then you can say Hinata speak up, as well as Sasuke saying that how he wants to defeat his older brother and all that. As for Naruto, he simply looked towards both of them. Well, my name is Naruto Uzumaki. Not, you can say, not saying Namikaze, which both Kakashi as well as Kushina notice. And then you can say Naruto speak up. As for my likes, well, to be honest, I like my small group of friends, Shikamaru, Choji, and Hinata-chan, as Hinata blushed a little. But after training with all of her group, she was not that shy and she did not stutter that much. So yeah, that's a good point. So yeah, as as for my goal in life, to be honest, I made a promise to someone long ago, and my intent and my goal is to fulfill that promise. At this board, you can say Kakashi narrowed. You can say Kakashi raised an eyebrow at that, as well as Kushina narrowed her eyes, wondering what he's talking about. While inside of Naruto, Shin left out a smirk came to his face. After all, Naruto made a promise to him. You can say, in exchange of all of his power and knowledge, Naruto will make a name for himself. He will spread the name of Reaper across the shinobi world, and people will fear the name in the whole world, in this human world as well. He smirked at that, while on the other hand Naruto simply nodded at that. So yeah, that is my only goal at the moment. Well, to be honest, in the future, I hope to get a family of my own as well. As Kakashi simply nodded at that. Well, that is all good and well. So it's about time we announce the final exam or true Genin exam at that. As Naruto speak up, what? Kakashi Nisa, what are you talking about? We passed the Genin exam. As Sasuke simply nodded at that, grunted at that. Achan. So yeah. Well, Sasuke, well, it is always fun to make fun of him. So yeah, that is beside the point. As Kakashi said, well, that was nothing more than, you can say, to see who has the guts and, you can say, who at least have some chances of becoming Gani. To be honest, among all the team that, you can say, passes the graduation exam, only four teams are going to be there, and there are 66% chances of failure in this exam of that, as most of the people fail at that. As Naruto narrowed his life at that, to be honest, he does not know about this whole, you can say, system of new Genin system. Minato must be thinking of something else, but he simply shook his head. And then he said, alright, it does not matter either way. He thought that in his mind. As Kakashi said, alright, tomorrow we're going to do our true Genin exam. So come along to Team Ground 7. And a bit of advice, do not eat, you might puke. As all of them simply looked towards each other and then simply shot a glare towards Kakashi, and they simply went off. As Menma said, hey mom, what's he talking about? As Kushina let out a small smile, well, Menma-kun, you will see tomorrow, so go home, alright? As she simply vanished as well. As I looked back towards the, you can say, whole thing, to see only Sasuke walking away. As for Naruto and Hinata, both of them had already vanished at that. As both Menma and Naruto grunted at that, they will ask Dad to teach both of them, you can say, how to do that as well. As they simply started to walk away as well. As now, let us cut back to Kushina as well as Minato. As Kushina arrived to the office as Minato was doing some paperwork. As he looked towards Kushina, Kushina-chan, welcome. So, tell me, how was the team? As Kushina said, well, to be honest, Minato-kun, I do not know what to do at this point. Well, we will see tomorrow how the team actually performs, but it seemed that it is not going to be that great as I was actually thinking, as Minato grunted. But of course, Naruto is going to, you can say, mess all the things up. I already know about it, but don't worry about it. If he gave you too much trouble, just leave him behind and focus mainly on both Menma and Naruto. As Kushina frowned at that, Minato, I was discussing about the same attitude you're showing. Both Menma and Naruto are doing the same thing. When I asked them about their dream, they said that both of them want to exile Naruto from both of the Uzumaki as well as the Namikaze clan, which you can say Minato raised an eyebrow at that. Well, if they do that, well, that will be their right. After all, both of them are going to be clan heads in the future. It is not our place to do so, Kushina. As Kushina frowned at that Minato, they are only 12-year kids, and to be honest, I do not remember a single thing which Naruto has done to them that they are saying this and all, you and I came to an agreement when Menma and Naruto, the only way for Naruto to return back to truly being alive is for both Menma and Naruto to complete their destinies. And finally, you can say the destiny will be completed. The premonition which the great old toad Sage has said that it will be completed and Naruto will finally return back to true life. While on the other hand, what if both of them hated him and all that? What will happen then? To be honest, Minato does not have a, you can say, a reason to hate Naruto, but for some reason, whenever he thinks about Naruto, he, you can say, started to get angry and pure utter hatred came to his heart. And to be honest, he doesn't even know about it. Sometimes he questions himself, but whenever he tried to think about his firstborn son, he always hated even the thought of it, as he simply shook his head. As he said, Kushina, to be honest, I do not care about what happened to them. And for Naruto, well, he was dead years ago. It's about time I have overcome that. It's about time you do the same. As Kushina frowned, but Minato, he had a pulse, he had a heartbeat now. As Minato simply shook his head, Kushina, it is just an illusion, nothing more than that. Just forget about it. I do not want to talk about it. As he simply stood up, as Kushina frowned at that, she wanted to talk to Minato, but Minato, for some reason, whenever she tried to talk about Naruto, tried to ignore the whole, you can say, discussion to begin with, as she frowned at that. And to be honest, most of the time, she also think in the same line. Whenever she think about her firstborn, she always started to hate even the thought of it, and simply, you can say, scoff at it, and started to think about both Menma and Naruto. But lately, it is getting less and less, and she was wondering about Naruto and all that, but still, it seemed that Minato is still in that trance or something like it, but she simply shook her head. She does not have time for this at this moment. She has to focus on Menma and Naruto, as she simply nodded at that and simply went off. So that she could, you can say, make sure that for somehow they could pass the exam and all that. As for Naruto, now let us have a small time skip and finally all the, you can say, Ganins were present in the training ground 7 as Kakashi, after some time, finally arrived as Kushina narrowed her eyes towards Kakashi, who put away his book. Well, it seems that you guys are already here, huh? So, it's about time we shall start our test. As Kakashi bring out 3 bells, as he said, well, these are the 3 bells, or you guys already, you can say, must have heard about it. It's famous bell test. As Menma and Naruto thought about it, they have heard some words about bell test or something like it. As Kakashi gave an eye smile, well, it's a good thing that they do not know the purpose of it already. He was half sure that Minato Sensei would already tell both Menma and Naruto what they can do to pass the test. Well, a good thing that Minato Sensei was a bit busy with the whole council and the elders and all that. And those who will not have a, you can say, bell at the end of this exam will be tied to the post, and all the other members shall eat lunch in front of them. As they were at that, there were several grumbles in the stomach as Sasuke narrowed his eyes at that, as he said, so that was the main reason you told us to not eat. As Kakashi gave an eye smile at that, but then he noticed both, you can say, Hinata as well as Naruto were eating rice ball. As Kakashi said, I'm pretty sure that I told you guys not to eat in the morning. As Naruto simply looked towards him, well, you suggested that we should not eat, and it is far better than to, you can say, eat and puke rather than to be hungry in a battle. At least you can say several, you can say eyes, you can say twitch at that as Sasuke shot a glare towards Naruto and scoffed at that as both Menma and Naruto were also, you can say, glaring towards Naruto. As Kushina said, well, it's about time the test shall begin. I shall have 1 bell, while Undita and Kakashi shall have 2 bells with him. So, it's about time we shall start the battle. Wouldn't you agree? As I simply nodded at that as Kakashi put a clock to the, you can say, into the tree as he said, alright. So, here we go. 3, 2, 1, begin. As all of them simply vanished into the forest as Kakashi said, well, it's a good thing. At least they do know how to hide, right? As Kushina simply nodded at that. As Kakashi gave an eye smile to Kushina as he said, well, at least they do know how to hide. Wouldn't you agree, Kushina-san? As Kushina was deep in thoughts, as she was wondering about the, you can say, discussion which she had with Minato, as she said, well, it is good. As she simply started to look around, well, Sasuke is in that tree. Well, Menma is hiding in the bushes. Well, not that bad, at least. As for Naruto, she's in the same tree as Sasuke. As she sighed, As Kushi, for some reason, Naruto became a fangirl of Sasuke, but at least she does train. She's not like Ino as well as Sakura, as both of them does not train whatsoever. Well, as she sighed at that, as she started to look around, as she narrowed her eyes, it was good, but she was able to sense it. After all, she was a bit of a sensor. Well, actually, all of the Uzumakis were at least a bit of a sensor, and some of them are legendary. Some were known as Kirin. She, you can say, thought in her mind, but she simply shook her head as she said, so where's my son? As whenever she think about son and think about Naruto, she hated that thought for some reason. She simply shook her head as she said, where is he? As she started to go around all the place as her eyes narrowed for a moment as she closes her eyes and started to channel a bit of 90s chakra. After all, even after the extraction, she had bit of it. That was the main reason she was able to survive. But then her eyes widened at that as she said, Kakashi, jump! As Kakashi's eyes widened at that, he was able to, you can say, sense it. In the last second, he jumped out of the way as there was a boom as whole area shook at that as Kushina simply went into the, you can say, trees at that. Her eyes narrowed at that. She was barely able to sense it. Even with, you can say, Naga's chakra, she was infusing with her body as her eyes, you can say, narrowed at a moment as she said, Shadow clone explosion jutsu, huh? As Kakashi eyes narrowed at that. That would have seriously did must, you can say, would have done damage to him. Well, a good thing that he had made some distance as his eyes narrowed, as he closed his book shut, while on the other hand both Menma and Nunuko's eyes narrowed at that. So the loser decided to use the whole tag paper bomb, huh? As Sasuke simply grunted at that. Well, it's nothing compared to the might of the Uchiha elite. He will use the fireball jutsu to burn both of these Jonins to the ground. After all, he was an Uchiha elite. As while on the other hand, Kakashi's eyes narrowed at that, but then suddenly he sensed something behind him. He quickly jumped out of the way, and he was already in the mid-air. And then suddenly, several kunai rushed towards him. As Kakashi's eyes narrowed, as he tried to use substitution jutsu, as he was able to successfully do that, and then his eyes narrowed for a moment as he closes his eyes and started to sense around the area, and he was barely able to come up with something as his eyes widened. He was already surrounded. Damn it. These must be Shadow Clone Jutsu. While on the other hand, Kushina's eyes narrowed at that. She could sense several chakra signatures in that point of, you can say, forest in which Naruto pushed Kakashi into. It seemed that he had made a plan to, you can say, separate Kakashi as well as Kushina. Well, not that bad of a plan, but then she sensed that several kunais were coming towards her and she quickly, you can say, substituted, as it seemed that the Hyuga had decided to move into the place as she could sense that this kunai she was able to dodge, but then her eyes narrowed. There were seals on it as she quickly, you can say, realized what these actually were as she quickly jumped out of the way into the forest into the opposite direction of Kakashi. As she gritted her teeth, it seemed that both the Hyuga and Naruto have come up with some type of plan or something like it. But then she sensed the Night's chakra as she quickly looked back to see both Menma and Naruto were charging blindly towards her. As she sighed at that, as she could see, the Uchiha was waiting for an opportunity to use, and Naruto is trying to show up to Uchiha and find Menma. As she sighed, Menma is simply Menma. Now let us cut back to Kakashi, as Kakashi was looking around as he said, well, not bad, Naruto. To be honest, I was not expecting you to use Shadow Clone Jutsu, huh? As no voice came or anything like it. Well, to be honest, I already know you are there. Huh, I was not expecting to take this fight seriously, but it seemed that I have to do so. As he put out, you can say, his Sharingan, as he started to look around all the place into the forest, and a small smirk was on his face. It has been some time that someone, or especially so young, has pushed him so close to use the Sharingan itself. As Kakashi was looking around into the place, but then suddenly he could feel the buzzing sound into the air as if something, a weapon, was thrown. As Kakashi's eyes widened as if sword was coming towards him, as Kakashi quickly ducked under the place and the sword was stuck into the tree, and then a person landed on it. As Kakashi's eyes narrowed as that sword, he has never seen a sword like this. As Naruto was standing on the top of the sword in the same fashion, if you have seen, you can say Zabuza. As Kakashi looked towards Naruto and Naruto looked back towards Kakashi with a, you can say, cold blue eyes looking directly into the eyes of Kakashi, as Kakashi could feel a shiver going through his, you can say, spine. As Naruto said, well, to be honest, it has been some time since I have fought seriously. Well, you're a Jonin, aren't you? Well, you should be able to push me, at least to do something. As Naruto bring out his sword and landed on the ground, as Kakashi narrowed his eyes at that. This kid was talking as if he has fought several strong shinobi, but it does not matter anymore. If he thinks that he's better than a Jonin, an elite Jonin, then he's far above his head. Well, it's about time that he teaches this kid a lesson. Alright, Naruto, let's see how strong you actually are. To be honest, last time I heard that Sensei and Jiraiya Sensei, Jiraiya-sama did not thought of you worthy enough for their training, as Kakashi was trying to, you can say, push Naruto, or trying to, you can say, see how he would actually react to such things as taunts and that. But to his surprise, a blank expression was still on the face of Naruto, as Naruto bring out his sword as he said, well, let's see the might of the Kakashi Hatake, the Kopinin. As Naruto started to go through hand sign at a rapid rate, as Kakashi's eyes widened at that, he only recognized two hand signs, and after that, it was clearly a blur. He should have focused more on the hands, or he should have been able to, you can say, copy the hand sign. Otherwise, as Naruto, you can say, put out a bit of, you can say, air into his mouth and release the flames, and not normal flames, rather a silver flame rushing towards Kakashi and covering the forest at a rapid rate, as Kakashi said, oh damn. And yeah guys, here we left this part. Hope you guys like it. And for the next part, you guys already know the like goal, which is going to be 120 likes and 60 comments. Do that and I shall upload the next part as quick as possible. So yeah guys, please subscribe to the channel. It will really help me a lot. So yeah guys, and hope that you guys enjoyed it. Peace.